We have a full afternoon for everyone, and I really appreciate everyone coming out. We've got some great speakers to give you some information, and this is the first of a few, I think, that we'll be having in talking about our next solicitation. But before we get started, I wanted to have the concessions team kind of stand up so you could see who all we are. You met two of our folks that greeted you, Keela and Linda, and who else? Julie. Where you guys at? Okay. So if everybody can just wave. It's our concessions team. And we actually have a new member of our team that just joined us today. So for all those folks that are in food and beverage where Carolyn Phillips has been holding down the fort, she is so happy to have Michael Morford here. And Michael is from another airport out in Portland and comes with a great deal of experience, and we just got him straight off of the boat, and he's going to start helping us right away. So welcome aboard. So if you guys can just sit back, write down your questions, and for those of you that signed in, legibility is key. If you want us to continue sending you information, if you can make sure that you have written down your right contact information where we can read it, that would be great. There will be no issues with you getting follow-up information. But if you think by chance you haven't, before you leave, please make sure that you print legibly so that we can make sure we have you on your mailing list. So without further ado, I'm going to invite up the first speaker, and that's Perfecto Solis.
I'll try my best to go ahead and bring everybody up to speed just very quickly. We thought as part of today's presentation, we can kind of go ahead and speak to exactly where we're at in the process with respect to the different phasing components for the Terminal Renovation and Improvement Program. For you folks that have seen the video, it's a great video, kind of steps you through, like as Nola was saying, what we're going to be doing here at the terminals. And basically, in short, it's replacing all of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems in all of the terminals. It's basically reached the end of its design life, and so it's in need of repair, and that's what this program is set up to do. The other 30% of what we're going to be doing is all architectural enhancements. You'll see a lot of the tile floor coming up and being replaced with terrazzo floor, carpet, those kinds of things. And to the extent that we possibly can, and from a cost efficiency standpoint, we'll try to replicate some of the finishes that folks have been accustomed to over in Terminal D. And so it's a great program from start to finish. Let me kind of step you through a little bit about what we have here. The overall program budget is set at $1.92 billion. This is an escalated program value, and this particular program is estimated to last about 7 years. We do have budget and schedule tracking. All of that is tracking to plan, and so we're right on schedule where we need to be. Now, for you folks that have seen this presentation before, you're accustomed to seeing this particular slide. What I can tell you very quickly, and you'll see some photographs here in just a second, we are underway at Terminal A as it relates to our construction program. We began in earnest back in May. We actually took some of the footprint down in February, but we do have a third of Terminal A down right now and significant demo activities underway. You'll see that Terminal B is next in line with some of the work that we're going to be doing as enabling projects, and then Terminal E will be right behind it, and I'll get a little bit more specific here in just a second about what those dates are. And then we can't start Terminal C until the Terminal A work is done. American Airlines operates primarily out of A and C, and so from an operational standpoint, they can only take the impact of one terminal being down at a time, and that's why those are tied end to end. Now, this is tying to the graphics that you guys saw outside with respect to the placards on each one of the terminals. You'll note up there that Terminal B has 3 phases associated with it. Phase 1 will actually get underway spring of next year, being completed around the May 2013 timeframe. Phase 2 will then pick up in May 2013, and it's basically about a year program and will complete in February 2014. And then all of Terminal B will be completed up there in March of 2015. Terminal E is a little bit more complicated from the standpoint that we have our own D carriers there. It's just not one single airline that we're dealing with. And so what you see there is a construction start in Terminal E getting underway this month. As a matter of fact, that began Thursday of last week. We're going to have a significant build out of the terminal space as it relates to the land side getting underway between sections B and C. You'll start to see heavy equipment starting to mobilize there in the next week or two, and then activities getting underway. And that's what we refer to as our Phase 1. That will be finished summer of next year. Then Phase 2 will begin in January of 2013, completing in January of 2014. And then once we get rolling, each one of those phases will last about a year, all culminating with the completion in January of 2016. Now, because Terminal C can't start until Terminal A stops, basically we'll finish in Terminal C in October of 2017, and then that will bring to the conclusion all of our construction activities associated with the TRIP program. So this, in a nutshell, is basically the timeline that we're working to, and this is part of the presentation that I'll leave with Zanola and her staff, and I would assume that they would make available in case you need specific detail. And then some of the highlights, we have regated now almost 50 gates at Terminals A and C. You may have noticed the new jet bridges out there if you're a frequent flyer. That work is now completed, so that's a big one for us. Temporary facilities project is now 100% complete as well. And then we have our IT communication comm rooms, and that, the Phase 1 portion of that is 100% complete as well. In addition to the MEP, we are now bringing full IT capability, fiber optic capability, to all of the terminals. That's a resource that hadn't been put in place but will be taken care of as part of the work that we're doing. So this Phase 1 work that you see there being 100% complete actually comes from the Verizon building located on International Parkway on the south end of the airport up the Spine Road, and we now have fiber going to each one of the terminals. The Phase 2 component of that will be the supplemental IT comm rooms that will be found in each one of the terminals. Now this is a very interesting photograph. This is what Terminal A looked like before we got started in March. Well, May, I lied. Another photograph right there, you can start to see a lot of the demising wall going up. Now, let me kind of step you through what it really starts to look like now. And that's 8 weeks worth of work. And so we're rapidly moving through, as you can imagine, Terminal A and the work that we're doing. This is the old escalators that went down to the American Eagle, where you had to catch the bus to go out to the old satellite facility. All those escalators are now gone. Once again, just want to leave you all with the impression that once we get rolling, we will move very quickly through these spaces to go do the things that we need to do. Now the down escalators, this is something that folks are typically used to, especially in the ATO areas or the ticket halls. Basically those down escalators are going away. What we're going to be doing in the TRIP program is replacing those with high capacity elevators. And so you'll see all of that infrastructure start to come out now. We'll have some escalators, and they're basically going to be down escalators down into the area where people can be picked up. But for the most part, the escalators are going away, as evidenced by this particular photograph. And then that clickety-clack tile that I was talking about, you know, that's been a signature of DFW Airport for many, many years. Well, all that's going away, thank God, and that'll be replaced with that nice terrazzo. A little bit about Terminal B. Our communication rooms and IT fiber backbones now 100% complete, so we have gotten that work completed. Same thing for Terminal E. And then our BC infill construction, and I touched on that just a while ago, that is getting underway in earnest next week, but officially got underway Thursday last week. And then this is the backbone itself coming in. We've utilized the old AirTrans guideway down on the lower level. All the conduit that you see there is basically full of fiber optic cables, and so a great level of service that we're going to be able to provide to everybody. Now this is what the finished product is going to look like over in Terminal E in that BC infield. Part of what we're doing on the trip is we're trying to empower the passenger to the extent that we possibly can. We'll still have that interaction with the ticket agents, but technology is a big part of what we're going to be implementing in those terminals. So you're going to see a lot more of the self-service kiosks where you can pick up and check your own bags and those kinds of things. And this rendering is intended to go ahead and just highlight that particular fact. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you all have.